Hello folks, in this video I'm going to give you a demonstration of my spam blocker module for the Trongate framework. And by the way, this module does not use any AI or anything like that. It's very simple. All it really does is makes an assessment about whether an inbound message, let's say from a contact form, is spam or not spam. So that's really all it's doing. It's making a decision. Is this spam or is it not spam? I'm going to give you a quick demonstration. So let's fill out this contact form. Now, by the way, I'm using Simple Contact Us here, which you can get from the module market free of charge. So in any event, let me just fill this out. So I'll just say name is Joe Smith, and I'll say that the email address is joe@smith.com, and we'll leave a genuine message, right? So hello, could you please give me a quote for a new app? Let's just say regards Joe. Okay, so very simple. We're going to submit this, no surprises. And if we go to our admin panel, I have a little inbox here, and if I refresh, there is Joe Smith's message, no surprises. Now, if you're wondering, how did I manage to get the admin panel looking like this? Well, I'm using the Bootstrappy admin theme. Again, you can get this free of charge. So I'm basically just using Simple Contact Us and Bootstrappy. I have done one little tweak, however, and that tweak is that I have added an inbox, a junk, and an archives folder here, just to make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, so everything normal, a message has came in, no big deal, and now we're going to do a spam message. Now, there's no better place to find spam messages, at least for me, than over on the Speed Coding Academy site. I have tons of spam messages that come in. Here's one here, right? So let's imagine that this spammy message is going to come in either from a bot or another person. So we'll go back to the Contact Us form, and here's our spammy message, and we're going to just click submit. It says thank you, everything looks normal, but when we go back to the inbox and hit refresh, the message has not arrived. However, if we go into our junk folder, you'll see that the message has gone straight into the junk folder. Now, I can tell you that this message is going to stay in the junk folder for 30 days, and after 30 days, it will be automatically deleted. This is my assumption of spam model that I spoke about on a YouTube video lately. Also, another thing I'll say is that if a message comes in, and again, let me take you back to Speed Coding Academy just for a minute. So here's all of my spam messages, right? Now, if we take this message here, you'll see that I haven't done anything with it. It's a spam message, right? Well, if you don't do anything with a message that arrives in your inbox, so let's say, for example, I have a look at one of these messages and I don't do anything, I don't leave a comment or anything, I don't take any action, then after 7 days, with the assumption of spam model, this message will automatically be moved to the junk folder, and it will stay there for 30 days, then it gets deleted, along with any comments that come with the message. So, that was probably all a little bit confusing, but don't worry, it's quite simple, and I'm now going to show you how this works. So how about if we take maybe one more spam message, perhaps this one here, right? And we'll just copy this one, and I'm going to go back to the contact form. Now, this one is going to get through. If I go over to my inbox and refresh, there's a spammy message that has made it into the inbox. So here's what we do. I'm going to view the message, and you can see that I've got two new buttons added here, one that says this is spam and one that says this is not spam. Now I'm going to click on this is spam, and you can see that it says select the things that indicate that the message is spam. So I think certainly the sender name indicates that this is spam. I'm going to select it and release. Over on the right hand side you'll see that it says spam indicators. Sender name contains Ranker SEO. Let's see if we can find something else. I think genuine SEO service. And away we go. So now it's saying message contains genuine SEO service. And we can do a few others if you want, perhaps the email here. So we'll select it, move it across. There we go. You can do as many as you want, and when you're happy, just click Submit Spam Indicators. Now what that's going to do is it's going to save it to a database table, and very quickly it should be able to identify if this message is spam or not. So let's give it a try. Let's imagine that this person comes back. Okay, so we'll just say Harry Johnson, but Harry's using the same email address and says, hello, how do you do? Can I have a quote? Regards, Harry. Now keep in mind that we are now using that same email address that we previously identified as a spam indicator. So Harry comes along and hits submit. Everything looks normal, but over on the admin panel, Harry has not arrived. This is the spam blocker doing its job. Instead, Harry's going over to the junk folder, and Harry will stay there for 1 month. And after 1 month, the message and any comments associated with it will be automatically deleted. There's one other aspect to this that I'd like to show you, and that is where a message comes in and you want to say this is not spam. Maybe this is a high priority customer. So you can click on this is not spam, and you might say, okay, if something comes in from this email address, then you'll see that that's a positive indicator. And again, you can select anything you want, parts of the message maybe. If you make a mistake, no problem, you can just delete. And so here I'm submitting positive indicators, and they will help my little algorithm to decide that this is not spam. So hopefully that will be useful. And now I'm going to show you how to set this thing up. So you'll be able to pick this one up from the Trongate module market, and I haven't uploaded yet, but you will be able to get it from here. And when you get it, you're going to have a module by the name of Spam Blocker. I'll show you what you get. So it's this module called Spam Blocker. It happens to contain a sub-module called Spam Blocker Data. And Spam Blocker Data comes with a little SQL file that gives you a table that looks like this. Very, very simple little table. You can see our different elements such as sender name, message, etc., the target string, and then you can see scores that we allocate. Okay, so you're probably getting an idea of how this works, and yes, it's pretty simple. By the way, we do have a fully functional submodule called Spam Blocker Data. It works exactly the way that you would expect, and yes, you can manually create records if that's what you want to do as well. So that comes with this thing as well. Now, you will have to do a little bit of work to get this thing working the way that you want. I've told you the model that I'm using, but maybe your setup is a little bit different from mine. So keep in mind that the main point of this spam blocker is simply to judge an inbound message and decide, is this spam or is it not spam? Let's have a look at the main controller file. You'll see that there's a method here called judge, okay, underscore judge. Now if I just zoom you in, judge accepts an array, and the array should contain sender name, sender email, and message. So you pass those three things into underscore judge. It's going to do a little assessment, and at the end it's going to return either not spam if it thinks the message is okay, or spam if it thinks that we've got a spam message. That's really the crux of this whole thing. Now, how you use this, how you decide to respond to spam, is entirely up to you. Maybe you won't even give them a thank you page. Maybe you'll do a page that says go away spammer. It's all up to you, but that's basically at the heart of this whole thing. Judging messages and assessing if it's spam or not spam. Now I'm going to show you my own implementation of this, and perhaps you can do something similar if you want, but you don't have to. So in my own case, I have a site with a contact form, and I know that this contact form goes to the URL that is inquiries/submit. So this is an ordinary contact form, okay? No big deal. You can see that I've got a little bit of validation and all of that stuff. I don't have any captchas. I don't believe in captchas anymore. And I'm treating it exactly as normal, but just before I insert the new data, you can see here that I'm loading up the spam blocker and I'm calling upon the judge method. Now, by the way, you can see I'm building up some inbound data here. Sender name, email, message, and I'm passing that in. Now remember that judge is either going to return spam or not spam. So I'm saying is spam result is that stuff. Now of course, what you do if it's spam is entirely up to you. For this particular example, I'm just saying that if it's spam, then the message folder ID is 2, which is junk. Otherwise, the message folder ID is 1, which is inbox. Now, that little section here, strictly speaking, is nothing to do with spam blocker. That's my own implementation. You may decide to do a little bit of work and do something else. You may have to build some message folder thing. Again, it's all up to you. But remember, the main point of spam blocker is this judge thing. That's where the magic is. Now, the next thing I want to show you, of course, is how do we get these buttons here working? How do we get all of this set up? Let me show you. So I'm going to go to wherever the messages live, and in this particular example, it's a view file called show, which happens to be inside an inquiries module, and yours could be somewhere else. Now, do you see these buttons here that say this is spam and this is not spam? Well, all I'm doing is I'm picking a part of the page that makes me feel good, maybe about here, and as you can see, I'm calling spam blocker draw modal buttons, and that is going to give me these fabulous little buttons here, along with all of the JavaScript and everything. Okay, so to get all of that stuff, it's just one line of code, and there it is. And you don't need to put it there, by the way. You can put it anywhere you like. Now, when you click on the modal button, what happens is it's using a little bit of JavaScript to look at the message on the page, and then it's going to populate this area here. In order for that to happen, you're going to have to do one little tweak, and that is go to where your message is and where you have the sender name, so that's corresponding with this thing down here. Just give an ID that says this sender name. Where you have the email address, add an ID onto the element that says this sender email. And where you have the message, add in an ID that says this sender message. So you're adding them onto these elements here. And in doing so, that's going to enable these little pop-ups to do their magic and it will populate with whatever your message is. Everything else is entirely automatic, and it's fine. It will do its job just fine. Okay? Now there's one more part to this thing, and that is what I call the assumption of spam model. This is my personal model for handling spam, and you don't have to use this. But do you remember when I was saying that when a message comes in, we give it 7 days until there's a response? If nothing happens in 7 days, then it's going into that junk folder. And we also said, you'll remember, that if something has been in the junk folder and it's more than 30 days old, then it's going to be automatically deleted. That's a feature that you may not want, but I've left it in anyway for you. You may, however, have to do some tweaks. In fact, you almost certainly will, but let me show you how it works. So if I go to a message here, we're back on this inquiries show thing. I'm going to go to inquiries, I'm going to go to show, and if we have a little look closely here, you'll see that just after the security, I've added in a couple of lines of code, one that calls spam blocker, and then it's calling run assumption of spam. Again, that's my own little algo, and I'll just show you what it does. So the first thing it does is we're saying messages that have been in the inbox for more than 7 days that do not have comments get moved to junk. Now keep in mind, you may not want this. Maybe you've got, my table's called inquiries, maybe your table's called messages, so you may have to tweak this, okay? But what it's doing is it's selecting the messages that don't have a comment and it's moving them to junk. Again, that's entirely my own implementation. You will have to do some work or some changes. The next thing is messages that have been in junk for more than 30 days are actually more accurately messages in junk that are older than 30 days. They get deleted, okay? So messages in junk that are older than 30 days get deleted, and that's a little bit of code for that. Again, you may need to do some changes to bring that to life, okay? That's pretty much it. Spam Blocker is available for free from the Trongate module market. If you like what we're doing here, if you'd like to support our web development revolution, there's two things that you can do, if that's okay. One is, I'd be grateful if you could give this video a little like, but what's even more important is if you haven't done so already, please do consider giving the Trongate framework a star on GitHub. This is what's really going to make the difference. So if you do like what we're doing, I would really appreciate that. It's all I'm asking. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you down the road.